Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video we are going to see list versus tuples. Now this is very important topic where we will be differentiating between list and tuple, and at the end of this video you will be convinced that as compared to list, tuples have their own significant advantages, right? And you will be understanding how we actually prefer using tuples over list. So let us start one by one and start contrasting between the two data structures, which is list and tuples. So coming on the first difference, see, talking about list and tuple, both of them are the most widely used data structure that is present in Python, right? So they are used widely, but as a developer, when working on Python, you need to understand when to use a list and when to use a tuple, right? So I think that this video will be, making you realize the importance of when we will be deciding to use a list or a tuple in our uh, programs, right? So for the first and the foremost difference, that will be the basic difference that you all know, that lists are represented by a square brackets and tuples are represented by round brackets. So there is nothing difference in it. Both are heterogeneous in nature, and the representation, that how you will be actually seeing and identifying that you have a tuple or a list, is with the help of square brackets and with the help of parentheses or the round brackets, right? So lists have square brackets, whereas tuples have round brackets or parentheses. Now coming to the second difference, now this is the very important difference, which says that list requires more memory, whereas tuple requires less memory. Yes, now talking about the memory efficiency, both of them have significant difference in how many bytes actually they occupy in the memory. So it has been observed that list takes more memory and tuples take less memory. And we can even visualize that with the help of get size of method that is present in the sys module. So let us come to the Python screen first and visualize this, programmatically, that yes, that tuples takes less memory. Now to demonstrate that tuples take, less memory, what we are going to do, we will be actually importing the sys module. It's called as the system module. So it has actually a lot of functionality. So for that, let me just print let's say dir and in the bracket sys, right? And if I run the code, so you can see the plenty of methods that are actually available in the sys module, and here we are actually concerned with the get size of method, which is over here, right? So why I am using this, because I need this get size of method, and this method is present in the sys module, so I have to import sys module first. So let me just clear it, because I do not require any other method apart from get size of. So in order to contrast between a list and a tuple, let me just initialize a list which have let's say 4 elements. Let me just take some more elements so that the size will be significant, and I will be creating a tuple which have same elements, right? So what I have with me, a list with same elements, and a tuple which have exactly the same elements of my list, right? So now what I'm going to do is I will be printing the size of my list, right? So the size of my list, right? So the size of my list is, I will be getting the size with the help of get size of function, right? Get size of what? Get size of my list. But remember that this get size of is a function which is available with sys module, so dot over here. Remember that this get size of is inside this sys module. So if I talk about sys module, this module provides access to some object used and maintained by the interpreter and dynamic functions that can interact strongly with the interpreter, right? So it has that particular object get size of, right? So if I talk about this, it returns the size of the objects in bytes. right? So it will be visualizing how many bytes my list is actually taking in order to store those 7 values, right? And just copy the same statement, print it over here, and the size of my tuple, and inside that should be the tuple, right? So let me just run the code and just see. You can clearly visualize that the size of my list is 120 bytes, whereas the size of my tuple is 96 bytes, whereas I have stored in them the equal and the same number of elements. So it is clearly, visualizing that the construction of tuple has been done like that, that they are memory efficient. Now we are not getting into that deep, that why they are memory efficient and why list is not. That is the internal programming. But the fact is, whenever you want to, program something memory efficiently, and always we want to take things memory efficiently, so it's always better to go for tuples if you know that the objects will not going to change significantly, right? Because if you need to change the object, then definitely that should be a list. But if the elements are immutable, then always go for tuple because they are memory efficient. Now coming to the third difference between list and tuple. Now list require more time to create and tuples require less time to create. Now this is very evident, right? In the previous section we have just now seen that list takes more bytes with compared to your tuples. So definitely if a data is large, then it will be taking more time to create it as compared to the small size of data. Now in order to demonstrate this particular thing, I will be using the timeit module to demonstrate it, right? So let us just go back to the Python screen because things are more clear when we do it programmatically. Now, in order to visualize that list takes more time as compared to tuple, I will be importing one more module, which is timeit, right? And if I tell about the timeit, if I talk about the timeit module, it is says that it is a tool for measuring the execution time of small code snippet, sorry. This module avoids a number of common traps of measuring execution times. And all right, so it is just explaining about the timeit module. The main thing, uh, so if I put my cursor on timeit, you can see that it is a tool for measuring execution time of small code snippets, right? So you can actually execute that, how much time you are taking to execute a code, right? So what I'm going to do is I will be creating a variable called list underscore time, right? So this is the variable which is going to store how much time it takes to create a list, right? And in a parameter, I will be calling a function called timeit, and let me just type it completely. Timeit. Now just look at the difference. Here, the timeit is shown in yellow color. So if I put my cursor over here, it is a function, right? Which is a method which is present in timeit module, right? So the timeit module is in green color, right? It is a module, and this is a function, right? So this module contains this function. That is why I have called it by the name of the module dot function or dot method. So here you can see in green color it is for the module, and the yellow color it is for the function, right? So what I'm going to write over here is this timeit method takes few parameter. Now the first parameter is the statement. What is the statement? It takes statements as a string, and here I will be passing a list. Let the list be of 5 elements, right? So now this is the statement, right? You can see it over here. The next parameter that I am going to provide will be number, and let the number be, say, a huge number, say 5 lakhs or 5 million numbers, right? So what is the meaning of this statement is, what I want to calculate is the time, right? Time to create a list which have 5 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this list will be created how many numbers of time? Number of this many times. So if I write 5 over here, right? If I write 5 over here, then it will be calculating the total time of creating this particular list 5 times, right? So I will be having this data for 5 times, right? Now if I add that many zeros in front of it, that means the total time to create a list this many times, right? So I hope that it will be clear now. Now copy the complete statement again and perform the same operation for tuple creation. So the statement will have the same values, but the packing will be round brackets, right? So it will be a tuple. Okay. Now what we are going to do is print time to create this many lists, right? And that time will be underscore time. Copy the code, paste it here, tuples and tuple time. Now running the code. On running, you can see that the time to create the same amount of lists is this much, 5 point something, and you can see that the time to create the tuple is 0.85, which is a huge difference in terms of programming or the execution time, right? So it is very evident by now that considering tuple for programming will be time efficient, memory efficient, even the values are immutable. That means tuples have a lot of advantages over lists. But yes, lists are also important when we have to change the data, right? Because data is ever changing. So list is an option, but yes, in certain condition, tuples will be, very fruitful for the programmers. The fourth difference is that lists are mutable and the tuples are immutable. Now this we have also seen, in the previous videos also, that yes, we can modify the values of the list and we cannot modify the values in the tuples. Now let us check about the immutability. So I have a list which have, let's say, few values, and then I have a tuple that have equal values, right? You can take different values also, no issues. So in the list, I want for the first element to be, let's say, 999, and then I will be just printing my list, right? And if I copy and paste the same code for the tuples, so if I want to change the first element of my tuple and print it, I should get an error, right? So let us see. If I run this particular code, you can see that the value of the list is now been modified, right? You have changed the first element at the 0th index, but talking about the tuple, you got an error which says type error, tuple object does not support item assignment. So yes, you cannot assign, different values to, a tuple if the tuple is been created once. So the values are immutable. So that is all with the difference between the list and the tuple, and I hope that now you will be understanding where is the situation to use a list and where is the situation to use the tuple. I hope you liked the video and stay tuned to my channel for more such informative videos. Thank you.